What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix for Week 14 of the 2021 CFL season. I'm Ryan Coop here with your running back preview this time around, looking through all of the fantasy options at the running back position. If you missed it, go back, check out. I already previewed the quarterbacks earlier today, and then later tonight I'll have your wide receivers and your defensive preview as well, and then depth chart updates on Friday to get you all set for locking in your lineups for week number 14 of CFL Fantasy. But let's take a look at the running backs today and some intriguing options available here. Here's kind of what we're looking at as the starters and the 1A, 1B situations for some of these teams. A couple notes you'll notice on here. James Wilder Jr. is not on the list here because it seems like he will not be playing this week. He left, I think, last game due to injury, hasn't practiced all week, so it looks like Walter Fletcher will be getting the start at running back for the Edmonton Elks. Also no Andrew Harris on the list. He still hasn't practiced after being put on the 6-game injured list a couple weeks ago. So presumably Brady Oliveira will start there for the Bombers. But let's go through these options top-down price-wise. Take a look at their values, what points you need to hit, etc. So starting off with William Stanback, $9,528. This might be the first time all year I'm giving the green light to William Stanback, and it might seem like a bit of an odd matchup to do so. He comes in at a high price of over $9,500. To get 2.5 points per $1,000, you're looking at 23.8 points, which is a tough total to hit, but Stanback has hit that in 2 of his last 4 games. He's been an absolute monster this year, racking up 100, even 200-yard rushing games. He's started putting touchdowns on the board a little more in recent weeks. Does face a tough Winnipeg defense that has gotten better at stopping the run than they were earlier this season. But here's why I like this week for Stanback is, while the Bombers have gotten better against the run, they're best against the pass. And I think Montreal's got to recognize that when they have a weapon like Stanback, that this is their best chance at putting points on the board this week against the Bombers. They've got Trevor Harris starting at quarterback, typically not the most mobile guy. You know, if you get near a goal line situation, if Schultz was the starter, we may have seen Schultz kind of take the ball himself, plunge it in. But I think we're more likely to see Stanback get a carry near the end zone here or get those dump passes. Those have worked effectively against the Bombers' defense at times throughout this year. So I think Stanback's an intriguing play here. I could see him getting a little more involved in the passing game with Harris. After all, Harris did get James Wilder Jr. involved in that regard a lot in Edmonton. And I could see him getting a touchdown. You know, Bombers have given up, 2-3 passing touchdowns on the year. They're more susceptible to the run. I think if there's any week you want to bank on Stanback potentially getting a rushing touchdown or 2, I think it's got to be this one, because Montreal's going to need to play big here to keep pace in that race for first place in the East Division, while the Bombers really don't have a whole ton to play for in this one. So I like Stanback as a play this week. 24 points might be a bit tough, but I think he can hit at least a 20-point week for you. William Powell, I'm cautious on him. I'm saying yellow light there. 12.8 point average on the year. You're looking at 21.4 is 2.5 times his value. For Powell last week, put up a solid 17 points against Montreal. I believe was their leading receiver. But with him, the reason I'm cautious on him is you just never know what his usage is going to be. We've seen games where he is heavily used by this offense, and we see games where all of a sudden he gets like 8 carries when he should be getting a ton more. So I'm a bit cautious. The price is high. I think there are other good options available for you, and I'm not sold on Powell hitting his value this week in a matchup with Edmonton. Don Jackson for the Hamilton Tiger Cats got his first true start of the season last week and ran with it, full pun intended there. Over 100 yards rushing, picked up a touchdown as well. Big day for Don Jackson last week, put up 18 points. The reason I'm not saying green light, yes, the matchup with BC is good. Yes, Jackson had a fantastic game last week. The only reason I have him as yellow light here is because I need to see a follow-up performance on that, and I need to see Hamilton dedicate him to giving him the ball solely as the go-to running back for a second straight week. This is a team that's, shuffled things around so much. We've seen Jackson, Thomas Erlington, Jackson Bennett, Malik Irons all get time running the ball. We've seen receivers come in and take some running plays as well. Show me Don Jackson's going to be a lead back that's getting like 15 carries a game another week, and then I'll consider putting him as a lock, as a green light, if he can produce in that regard again. But still a little bit skeptical based on Hamilton's alignment there, which also makes me want to stay away from Sean Thomas Erlington, because I do think Jackson is going to get the bulk of the carries, which makes me want to stay from Thomas Erlington if he's just in a backup role. Also hasn't really broken out for a massive game this year. His highest total is 14.9 that he put up a couple games ago. And that was as a starter. So even as a starter, he hasn't exactly been hitting his value most weeks on the year. So I say stay away, red light on Sean Thomas Erlington. Also red light on John White of the Toronto Argonauts. White has averaged just 8 points a game on the year. He is now the backup running back to DJ Foster, although I say backup kind of loosely because they split the time pretty evenly. But White in his past 3 games has not had one performance over 5 points. If you're spending $5,700 on that, you are not getting close to what you're looking for. The matchup with Ottawa is good, but the usage just isn't there for John White. Saying yellow light on Brady Oliveira of the Bombers, who should get the start again this week with no Andrew Harris. $5,200, 13 points is the threshold you're looking for here. He averages 5.1 on the year, but that's skewed a little bit by the fact that most of the games this year, it includes when he was a backup behind Andrew Harris and didn't really get the ball besides a carry maybe here or there. In games he started this year, 15.7 against Hamilton, 5.2 and 4.6 against Toronto. And then in the past 2 games, 14.4 and 12.5 against Edmonton and BC. So in three of the 5 games he's had full usage, he's put up over 12.5 points, which hovers him right around that full value mark, including hitting 15. The matchup with Montreal is a little tough here. They are the best team against running backs in the CFL, fantasy-wise, so that's a bit of a tough matchup. I'm also a bit concerned with perhaps Johnny Augustine spelling in for a couple of plays here and there. We saw him go in for a 55-yard rush last game, so the Bombers are kind of in rest mode, get ready for the playoffs, and that could mean they're splitting some time doing a dual back system between these two. So I think it's a good option with a low price, but also slightly hesitant to lock him in as a green light this week. One guy I am locking in as a green light once again is DJ Foster of the Argos, $5,155. 12.9 points is what you need to hit full value out of him. Last week he put up 12.1, so he was awfully close against the Lions last week. Juicy matchup here with the Ottawa Red Blacks, who last time around for him, he did put up 25.4 points. He did have a couple of weeks in between where it was kind of around 6 to 8 points, which we've seen at times for him, which might be a bit of a disappointment, but given that his salary is lower, if he hits you, say, 8 to 10 points, you're not missing out on a ton to keep you on track for your 100-point week, and the salary is low enough that you can make up for it elsewhere. So I'm locking him in based off the good matchup with Ottawa. I think Toronto's offense needs to bounce back a bit from the lackluster performance against BC last week, and I think when Foster gets going, either through the run game or the passing game, that's when this offense is at its best. So good matchup with Ottawa, good bounce back week for Toronto, hopefully. I like Foster as an option this week. I'm saying stay away from James Butler of the BC Lions. He has had, in the past 3 games, he's hit 11 points or more in 2 of them, which is encouraging to see them perhaps getting a little more usage out of him in that offense. But I'm still so skeptical of it because we've seen so many games this year where BC doesn't run the ball at all. They lean so much on the passing game, and they face a Hamilton team this week that's pretty good against running backs for the most part. They've got a great defensive line, the great middle of the defense there to stop that. So I don't think Butler is a guy you're going to see consistently get enough usage to warrant putting in your lineup, especially when his price hovers around some of the other options that I think are better. Also saying stay away from Delance Turner of the Ottawa Red Blacks. $4,000 price. Last week put up 7.3. 2 weeks before that, 3.2 and 2.9. He's only hit his value once, which was his first start of the year against Montreal at 11.6. So I'm saying stay away from him. I don't think he's going to play this week. He's missed both days of practice. I think he left last week's game with an injury as well. Even if he is in the lineup, Ottawa doesn't really lean on the run game heavily enough to warrant him hitting the value. I don't think he hits that 10 points against Toronto. One running back I really like, and this might be my favorite option of the week, is Walter Fletcher of the Edmonton Elks. $3,500. I love my cheap running back plays because running backs, this year have not been, on average, really fantastic options available. In general, more often than not, you see disappointing performances. Well, when you only need 8.8 points out of him, it's really hard to get a performance that's going to be that disappointing. And I think we saw some encouraging things from him last week when he put up 10.2 points against Hamilton after replacing James Wilder Jr. in the lineup. He's going to be the starting running back this week. Does have a bit of a tougher matchup against the Riders' run defense, but I think he can do it. I think he can hit that 8.8 points at least this week. Give him a 50-yard rushing game and maybe a catch or two in there, and that's all you need to hit that value. So chance for a running back with not too much CFL experience to get a chance to shine here. I'm excited to see what he can do. So I am locking in Walter Fletcher as a green-white option for a cheap running back play to save money and spend it elsewhere on your roster. Looking at some of the other options this week, Timothy Flanders has been a healthy scratch in recent games with Delance Turner starting, but if Turner can't go, presumably Flanders would come back in and get the start. Last game for him was 2.9. He did have 3 games before that of decent production of 13.7, 10.2, and 14.1. My one concern there was that those totals, I believe, were padded by touchdowns for the most part. Very, very low yardage totals for Flanders most times. And with Ottawa, I think banking on a touchdown from your running back is maybe a little bit tough in that regard based on the offensive struggles we've seen from them this year. So even though he put some good values up earlier this year, he's been a healthy scratch in recent weeks. I need to see a good performance from Flanders coming out of that before I consider putting him in the lineup. Anthony Coombs starts at slot back but is listed as a running back in CFL Fantasy. Has had disappointing weeks as of late and is not worth the value in my opinion. Past 4 games, 7.6 is highest total in those, so really hasn't gotten involved a ton in the passing game. I don't like Coombs as an option. Last week, he put up just 1.7 against Calgary. One intriguing option to me is Terry Williams of the Edmonton Elks. I've had him pretty much red light, I think, all season long, but yellow light this week because with James Wilder Jr. out, Walter Fletcher should get bulk of the carries, bulk of the touches, but I could see them maybe spell in the veteran Terry Williams for a couple plays here and there. He's got a decent floor in that he's going to be handling returns. Once again, last week he only put up 1.8 in that regard, but the 3 games before that, 7, 5.2, and 4.6. So you've got half your value there from the return game from Williams in general. And if he gets in for, some rushing plays, maybe a catch or 2 here and there, he can hit the value. I don't think he's going to put up a big total. Let's be real here. I don't think you're getting a 15, 20-point day from him. Do I think if you're strapped for cash and want to punt it at the running back position and he could come close, if not hit 9.7? Yeah, I think there is potential there, but is definitely a risk given his average and his totals on the year. And finally, I say stay away from Chris Rainey. He's averaged 4.3 points a game. Has not hit full value, really. His highest total on the year came back in week number 2 when he put up 7.8 points. So not worth starting him solely for his return duties in your lineup. So those are the options at running back this week. I like William Stanback, I like DJ Foster, I like Walter Fletcher, and think you have some intriguing plays with guys like Powell, Jackson, and Oliveira, and Terry Williams this week. But that's how I see it playing out at running back. If you missed it, go back, check out the quarterback preview earlier today, and stay tuned this evening. I'll have your wide receivers and your defenses out as well. To get you all set for locking in your lineups, and of course the depth chart updates on Friday to make sure you adjust as needed. Do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you liked, what you didn't. If you have any fantasy questions, put them in the comments section or tweet them at me at CooperTrooper42. Link to that's in the description. And if you want to play CFL Fantasy alongside myself and other viewers, there is a link in the description as well to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix group over on the official CFL Fantasy site. You can play alongside myself and other viewers this week and the rest of the 2021 CFL season. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.